Welcome, brothers and sisters. You are now in tune again with the Great Controversy Warrior. This is part 2 of Who are the Jesuits and why were they formed? In this part of the video, I will be talking about the inner workings of how the Jesuit order is ran, in how they have affected governments, rulers, kingdoms, and people throughout history, and how they're still doing it today. As I mentioned in part 1, the Jesuit order, or the Society of Jesus, was formed in 1539 by Ignacio de Loyola, Francis Xavier, and Pedro Faber. These three gentlemen were skilled in the arts of war. They fought in the Battle of 1521, Pamplona, northern Spain, for the control of economical wealth in Spain that also involved the countries of France and Italy. They also fought for the nobleships of their various countries. De Loyola had received severe injuries, and if we note, he was a devoted Catholic. So basically, he was a devoted Catholic who was also skilled in war, and because of his injuries, he could no longer serve the Catholic Church in war, but him and the other two gentlemen, Francis Xavier and Pedro Faber, made this order to control the economical wealth of their country and also to combat Protestant Reformation movement in Europe. If you go to Google and check out what Protestant Reformation is and was, you will be amazed in how the Protestant Reformation now is mingled and has mingled with the Catholic Church, which in the beginning they did not want to mingle with the Catholic Church, because the Catholic Church forbids the conscious freedom for you to have freedom of conscience, or the freedom of speech that for you able to talk about her errors in her doctrine. But nonetheless, that is for a other study. If we look at the inner workings of the Jesuits, if we look at what Ignacio had laid before the feet of this order, how it started, let's look at his book, The Spiritual Exercises of Saint Ignacio. I'm going to let you look at it so you can check it out one day for yourself and know that these exercises are filled with mystical and yoga style prayers. Look at it. The Spiritual Exercises of Saint Ignacio. Profound precepts of mystical theology. Take a look, ladies and gentlemen. This is Ignacio de Loyola. In this book, it shows you how he, in times of war, in the times of his near-death experiences, how he would pray in dark alleys, in dark rooms filled of nothing but darkness, how he would use a skull of a dead man to supposedly connect with God, hitting himself with metal and wooden objects to the point of causing pain and bleeding to his body in order to achieve a trance, to then say that he had a connection or deeper meaning with God, is something that is very profound. Because where in the Bible have we ever heard, seen, or read for ourselves that Jesus or the apostles or the prophets or any person in the Bible do this? Did Jesus go into dark corners and hid himself with different objects of metal and wood to cause pain or bleed, to have a connection with his Father? No, he did not. None of the prophets or apostles do this. As a matter of fact, if we look into the book of Kings, we see the prophets of Baal, these false prophets of the god Baal or Baal, the sun god of the Assyrians, do this while they ask their god of the sun god Baal or Baal for water, because it had not rained for many years in the time of the prophet Elijah. So if we look at the story of the prophet Elijah, we see in this story that the false prophets of Baal or Baal cut themselves and do it in such a way where their altar that they put a offering was full of their blood, crying out and cutting themselves, crying out to Baal to answer them in their answer for water. And Elijah, all he had to do is say simple words, and the rain just came down. The altar was consumed by a fire, by simple words. He did not need to cut himself. God does not want us to cause pain to ourselves so that we may have a connection with him. He doesn't want us to go into a trance, a demonic trance. Because let me tell you, brothers and sisters, when you go into a trance, when you are using rosaries to go into a trance, to ask God for a connection, that is not what God wants us to do. He wants us to really talk to him. But that is for another day. That's a study for another day. I just wanted to make light of that and make note of that, so you may know what the meaning of yoga, trance, and different types of spiritual practices were not of God. They were of the pagans. And that's what this person, Ignacio de Loyola, and as well Francisco Xavier and Pedro Faber did. They were skilled in these things. They were skilled in the art of war. But I would like to say, in this part, we're going to talk about the inner workings. They work in ranks. They have generals. They have lieutenants. They are basically the army of the Roman Catholic Church to this day. Don't think that because they did these things in the 15, 16, and 17, 1800s, they're not doing these things now. They are still well and alive. Let's look at a testimony of a Jesuit himself from the 1960s. So basically, this is still going on today. This is from a Jesuit himself. It says, when a Jesuit of the minor rank is to be elevated in command, he is conducted into the chapel of the convent of the order, where there are only three other people present: the principal or superior standing in front of the altar, and on the other side is a monk, one of whom holds a banner of yellow and white, which are the Papal Vatican colors. And if you go to the Papal Vatican Council.com, you will see that their colors are yellow and white. On the other, a banner of black with a dagger and red cross above a skull of cross and bones. Does that sound familiar? The Order of Skull and Bones? Do they have to do with the Catholic Church? That's for another study, brothers and sisters. Just wanted to put it out there. With the abbreviations INRI, and below them the words Istum nectar reges impois. Istum nectar reges impois. These words mean it is just to exterminate or annihilate these pagan or heretical kings, governments, and or rulers. They have been taught insidiously to plant the seeds of jealousy, hatred between communities, provinces, states that were once at peace, and to incite them to deeds of blood, involving them in wars with each other, to create revolutions and civil wars in countries that were independent, prosperous, cultivating arts, sciences, and enjoying the blessings of peace. To take sides with combatants and to act secretly with their Jesuit brother who might be engaged on the other side, openly opposed to that which might be connected. Only the Catholic Church might be gainer in the end in the conditions fixed to the treaties of peace, and the ends always justifies the means. They have been taught that their duty as a spy is to gather statistics, facts, informations, and in their power from every source to infiltrate themselves into the confidence of the families, circles of Protestants, and to all other heretics of every class, character, as well that of merchants, bankers, lawyers, among schools, universities, parliaments, legislators, and judiciaries, and councils of state, to be all things to all men for the Pope's sake, whose servants they are unto death. Basically, brothers and sisters, I'm going to break this down for you. Basically, they are to be spies and to act like they do not get along with their other side that may be a Jesuit. So when you see governments insightful into revolutionaries, civil wars, do not have any doubt that there might be a Jesuit in counsel to these wars and revolutions. Now, that doesn't mean that all wars have been a Jesuit conspiracy. No, that's not what I'm saying. But make no doubt, brothers and sisters, they are one of war. They are spies. They are basically the CIA, FBI agency to the Vatican Roman Catholic Church. That's what they are. That is their inner workings. Why do I want to bring this to light? Because many of us don't know of these things. So someone has to be the trumpet that tells them these things. In the next video, I want to go more into detail in their workings in the world today. Brothers and sisters, we must wake up to all these things that are happening around us. This has been part 2 to who are the Jesuits and why were they formed. May we always know that we are in a great controversy.